Welcome to another Cardano update. So something major just happened, but not on the Cardano chart. But if you look at the Bitcoin chart, as you can see, we just had a cross on the 1 hour chart. And this usually means that we are about to get a pump. Now let me explain why. Well, first, before I do that, I actually want to talk about the Elliott wave count. So as you can see, we are still trying to head in a C wave of this A-B structure and finish the third wave of this 1-2 setup. And like I said, you can expect Bitcoin to bounce in November and December and get to about 100K by the end of the year. I mean, that has always been my prediction, and I still think it's going to happen. And we should still get to the 200% extension of this 1-2 setup right here to finish the third wave, and that would put us at about $80,000. Then of course we will need a fourth wave move down, and in my opinion, by the time we get to $80,000, that will mark the top for the Bitcoin dominance chart. And when we do get this 4 or 5 setup, that's when the altcoin season will start. Now, before I talk about what happened on the Bitcoin chart, and before I talk about the cross that we got, I actually want to talk about Bitcoin dominance for a minute. So as you can see, we had another new high, and it looks like it's going to continue going up. We went to about 59.7%, and we are very close to that 60% region. And I think it's very likely that we actually top this month, and then we go down in November, because if you can remember, Bitcoin always goes down in November. I'm sorry, not Bitcoin, Bitcoin dominance. Also, if you look at the weekly RSI, we are currently overbought, and usually when we do go to the overbought territory, we get a correction. So yeah, I'm still expecting a correction in November, and we'll have to see what happens after that. There is a possibility that we top in October and then we start going down in November and we never actually recover in December. But there is also the possibility that we recover in December and we go to about 60% or so, and then we get the altcoin season. I don't really know what will happen. Also, if we look at the monthly chart, as you can see on the monthly, we are almost overbought, so we are not yet overbought, but I think once we go to the overbought territory, that will mark the top, because as you can see, Bitcoin dominance never really went to the overbought territory on the RSI on the monthly, like ever, so I think this is going to be very important, and like I said, it will most likely mark the top. Now let me talk about Bitcoin. So as you can see, Bitcoin just had a cross on the 1 hour chart, and actually only monthly as well, which is very, very bullish, and let me explain why. So for this, let me go on the daily. And I want to show you what happened the previous 2 times when we had a cross on the bull market support band and the green line went above the red line. So let's see here. This is the previous cross that we had. And as you can see, after we had this cross, we went from about $38,000 to about $75,000. And then, when the green line went below the red line, we did absolutely nothing because this was a correction. But now that we had a cross, I think it's very safe to assume that things are about to get very, very bullish. Now let's continue. We also had a cross right here, but this was a bear market. But even so, I mean, as you can see, yes, we did go down for the next 3 months, but as you can see, the green line stayed above the red line, and after we got the bear market below, we actually bounced, so, you know, that's also something you need to keep in mind. Now let's continue with the 2021 cycle. As you can see, in 2021, during the bull market, we also had a cross right here, and after this, we went from about $50,000 to about $70,000, and we had a double top. And let's continue. What happened before 2021? Well, as you can see, we also had a cross right here in 2020. And what do you know? This happened at the exact same time of the cycle as this cycle. It also happened in October. And look at what happened after that. Bitcoin just went to the moon. So isn't it kind of interesting that we had a cross at the same time as we did in the previous cycle? You know, I mean, maybe it's just a coincidence, but maybe it's not. We also had a cross right here, but this cross and this cross as well. I mean, you could say that this cross is basically just this cross if you ignore what happened over here, because this was the pandemic drop. So maybe we would have not had 2 crosses right here if it weren't for the pandemic. But let's continue with the cycle before that. Well, actually, with the bear market. After hitting the bear market low, as you can see, we had a cross, and a few weeks later, what happened? We got about the bull market support band and we went from about $4,000 to about $13,000. And then, after that happened, we did absolutely nothing for a few months, just like we did in this cycle. And as you can see, we were also in a downtrend just like in this cycle, and after we had the cross, we started to bounce. Now, like I said, ignore this drop. I think the price would have continued to go up if it weren't for this right here. And let's continue with the other crosses. As you can see here, we also had a cross on the bull market support band, and what do you know? After we had this cross, we went from about $500 or so, well actually no, $800, to about $20,000. And of course, you could also count these crosses right here. As you can see, after we had these crosses, we also went up, in the short term at least. So yeah, there is a lot of potential for Bitcoin to just start exploding now, and it would make sense. Here is another trust, and what do you know? It happened in 2013 in October, and what happened after that? We had a huge bounce. And let's continue with 2013 January. In January, we had another cross right here, and what do you know? We also pumped after that. And let's continue. 2012, we had a cross, we went from $5 to about $17 or so. So as you can see, we always get a pump when we get a cross on the bull market support band. So in my opinion, things are about to get very, very bullish really soon. As you can see, we are already above the bull market support band, and this is very bullish in my opinion. And like I said, Bitcoin has a lot of potential to hit about $200,000 in this cycle, and maybe even more. I mean, if you look at what happened in the previous two cycles, Bitcoin here went to be 3.618 extension, and in the cycle before that, it went above the 4.618. So maybe it's safe to assume that in this cycle, we will go to the 2.618. Now, why is this important? I mean, at the end of the day, this is a Cardano video. Well, if Bitcoin gets to 200K, then of course Cardano is going to get about $5 or so. I mean, that's not even a question anymore. Because if you look at Bitcoin dominance, this goes to topping. And once it tops, then the altcoins will get their altcoin season. And Cardano right now is in a 1-2 setup. And as you know, the third wave is usually the most impulsive wave. So when we do get our altcoin season, then of course Cardano is going to start bouncing and go in a third wave move to the upside. And if Bitcoin gets to 200K, of course Cardano will be able to get to like $5 or so. I mean, that's not even a question. And if you look at what Cardano was doing in the previous cycle at the exact same time, as you can see, Cardano was pretty much going sideways during this time. And then once Bitcoin downtrend started dropping, which was right here, that's when Cardano had a bounce, and that's when the real altcoin season for Cardano happened. And what do you know? This was also a third wave on a 1-2 setup. And the second wave move down literally ended at the exact same time of the cycle. So if we want Cardano to get to about $5 to $8 in the cycle, it needs to pump, in my opinion, in the next, let's say, 40 days or so. Now, why am I saying 40 days? Well, it's because, yes, I'm expecting Bitcoin dominance to go down in November, which should help Cardano get to about 50 or 60 cents. But then we'll see what happens in December, because if Bitcoin dominance gets another high in December, it's going to be very likely that Cardano does what it did in the previous cycle, which is this right here. As you can see, in December, when Bitcoin was going up and Bitcoin dominance was also going up, Cardano was doing absolutely nothing. But then, after Bitcoin dominance stopped, Cardano went from about 14 cents or so to about $3.10. So, no, Cardano is not behind in the cycle. People are only fudding it because some other altcoins like Solana, for example, went up way earlier than the other altcoins. And, you know, there are some altcoins that go up way earlier, but this really makes you wonder, I mean, how much do you think Solana will continue to go up from here? I mean, in my opinion, it will go up at most another 5x. But Cardano still has potential to go up another 15x or so, maybe even 20 or 25x. So, of course, people are bearish on this coin, but if you look at this chart from a weekly perspective, things are looking very good, and in my opinion, this is one of the healthiest looking charts you will see in a crypto market. It's respecting support values, it's respecting this 1-2 setup, and if we do get a third wave of this 1-2 setup, that could be very, very good. And I'm not even going to talk about the Elliott wave today, I don't think I have time for that. But still, I mean, I remain bullish on Cardano, and I still think it has potential to get some massive gains in this cycle. Anyways, that's all I have for today. Make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts, and if you want to support the channel, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.